Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Down the rabbit hole news, I am the rabbit. First of all, shout out to you guys. Thank you guys for being here. I'm so glad that you guys are supporting my channel by watching, hitting the like, subscribing as we continue to talk about Liam Payne. Liam Payne's funeral announcement has been made, and who's going to be attending, who's going to be present. It is said that the funeral will be held tomorrow and that Liam will be laid to rest in his home country tomorrow. This specific ceremony is going to be close to the public. However, there will be, of course, closest friends and family members that will be in attendance. Now, sources are telling the local newspapers that Liam Payne's funeral is taking place tomorrow afternoon in his home country. His family have gone to great lengths to put together the perfect service and give him the send-off he deserves. In a joint statement that was published days after Liam Payne's death, his former bandmates, One Direction, basically said that they were completely devastated by the news of Liam Payne's passing. In time, when everyone is able to, there will be more to say. But for now, we will take some time to grieve and process the loss of our brother, who we love dearly. The memories we share with him will be forever treasured. For now, our thoughts are with his family, friends, and fans who loved him alongside us. We will miss him terribly. We love you, Liam. It's being said that Simon Cowell is also set to attend Liam's service. And I kind of wanted to gauge a little bit about what your guys' thoughts are on this. And let me explain to you guys why. Piers Morgan had a show and he had Howie Mandel, Katie Wessel, I think that's how you say her last name, correct me if I'm wrong. Now, this was very early on in the investigation. Of course, Liam Payne had just died, right? And so people were speculating that he had jumped. That's what was being reported in sources. And now here we are, a month after, a little over a month after Liam's death. Now we're seeing that that's not the case, that people are being charged here. We know that Liam did not want to commit S or anything like that. That was not his intent. Really kind of made me just feel some type of way. And I think that Katie was definitely onto something to say that, the industry is really responsible in so many ways for not taking care of its artists, mental health or not. Because even if that is the case, that we're going to say Liam Payne had all kinds of mental health issues and this is what had happened. Listen, even if that's the case, he still had a target on his back, right? The people that were supposed to take care of him did not. They didn't look after him whatsoever. If anything, looks like they might have kept him, using. Let's watch this. And again, this is 4 weeks old. Let me know your thoughts in the comments as we're watching this. How do you guys feel about this clip now? Now, Piers Morgan was coming at this by arguing about duty of care. What do you think about this? What are your thoughts? And just listen to kind of just the dynamics. And again, this is 4 weeks old. Let's watch this.
Thanks for having me, buddy. Like everyone, I was devastated to see this news about Liam Payne, 31 years old. It's an absolutely shocking tragedy that he's dead. We don't know, and it's very important to stress this. We do not know yet whether he died accidentally, whether he took his own life, or what may have contributed to his death. That's not been established yet. So I think it's very important to have that on the record at the start before we start going down the rabbit holes of assumption here.
Well, they definitely went to a rabbit hole of assumption. Again, a lot of us did not know what had happened. A lot of us have speculated all kinds of things. But I digress. Let's keep watching.
But in relation to your time, long time now, of being a judge on a talent show where so many young people come on and they try their luck and they're looking for fame and fortune, as they all are, and some make it and most don't. What do you feel about this issue about the duty of care towards them?
See, the duty of care for me doesn't come from these production companies or these shows. The duty of care comes from humanity. And I don't know that people know me there, but my soapbox, aside from being a judge and a comedian and whatever, is mental health. And I think mental health is paramount. And I always say, I wish people would take care of their mental health the way they take care of their dental health. Regardless, when you have a child, regardless of them being in pain, you take them to the dentist once a year to get their teeth cleaned or to get checked. And you go, look, mom, no cavities. But there isn't anything in place in our curriculum of life to check in professionally with somebody's mental health.
All right, so I'm going to stop. Let me time out here. If you're watching this, knowing now what we know about Liam Payne, to me, it doesn't sound like this was ever an issue of mental health. Could it have been an issue of substances? Possibly. For me, I still have a lot of questions about that, but mental health specifically, right? Because that's a thing that they always throw out there, that we give a lot of commentary about, right? Or a lot of thoughts about. Uh, we don't always, if we sit back and just reflect a little bit of what we know so far, Liam Payne had a target on his back. I think a lot of us can agree to that. At least some of you guys that have been watching this content and have been following, you have said it like, yeah, he was targeted. He was either targeted by those closest to him, or the industry, or outside sources, something to that effect, that they saw him and they targeted him one way or another. That's been my opinion. So, knowing what we know right now, what happened to Liam wasn't an issue of mental health per se. Um, some of us believe that he was set up, but I just wanted to show you guys what was being said when all of this had happened. Let me hit play now.
So I think this is, and even insurance companies, at least here in America, don't parody. If you see somebody with a broken leg, they'll take care of you. If somebody's hearing voices, unless you could see it on an x-ray, you probably won't get the same funds or help or professionalism to take care of that. So my thing is, listen, I've been open. I struggle with mental health. As I talked to you today, I'm heavily medicated, and I've been going to therapy for years, and I have OCD and depression and anxiety. Here's what we do know. Liam, we don't know whether he jumped. We knew that he was suffering an episode. We know that he was.
We did. We knew he was suffering an episode. We knew that. Maybe he was, and I'm not really sure. And I remember reviewing this a couple weeks ago, right?
Was having trouble in the lobby, and whether it was because he was on some substance, and whether, regardless of what it was, that is a mental health issue. It's harder to deal with mental health. There's always a stigma involved publicly. It's harder if you are known and you're a celebrity. It adds more pressure to the fact of trying to deal with whatever you're dealing with. And maybe when you are a little bit fragile, to be in show business, whether it's on a talent show or not, life is filled with rejection, and life is really hard. And under the spotlight, it's even harder. I think.
Yeah, and I think that was the narrative that was pointed out, that Liam Payne had been rejected or been fired. And that might have been the case, don't get me wrong. Now, I'm not saying that there was no mental health component to this, because quite honestly, I wasn't there, so I don't know. And neither were you guys, right? I can assume that there might have been something. That's not his cause of death at all. All right. Even the alleged drugs that they said they found in his system is not the cause of death. That's not at all what's being said, right? We heard about the injuries, and I'm having a hard time understanding that with all these injuries that he sustained, how there isn't more to this. How is it just abandonment? How is it just giving somebody these substances? How is it that we're here where these charges it just seems very minuscule to me? The more and more I review what happened to Liam Payne, it sounds like he was assaulted. He was hit. That broken TV, I can't get that out of my head, right? And when we first heard the story, it kind of broke like he was partying it up all over in Argentina. He was, hiring prostitutes. He was this and that and the other. Where now we're finding out that Rogelio Norris was the one that would top the bill off, if that makes sense, right? He'd be the one that managed the money, right? The so-called manager, not manager, right? Yeah, okay. And that's the piece that I want to get to, because Katie says in her video that it's things like this that make artists vulnerable. Whether somebody's under the influence or has a mental health issue, right? Those two things can definitely make somebody vulnerable. They don't know what the hell's going on. They don't know nothing, right? They're literally just interacting with their situation at that moment. That can make them vulnerable. Vulnerable to what they can do to themselves, but also what other people can do to them, right? What other people can do to them, how they can be targeted and isolated by other folks, which is exactly what Liam Payne's family had reported to sources and friends. That some friends didn't even know that they had made up, and they were back together talking to each other. I mean, it must have been, when I heard that, I said, oh, did Rogelio Norris, Roger Norris, and Liam had like a fallout in between? It just made me wonder. And if they had a fallout, what was it about? What made them come back together? Because of the inner circle that Liam had, he was part of that. And some of the inner circles didn't really like Rogelio Nores. They said it. Anyways, let's hit play.
I think what we need to do in this world is recognize mental health and recognize, and I would imagine this is the same in the UK. If somebody fell down on the sidewalk in front of you and they fell and smashed their head open on a curb and there was blood everywhere, somebody would call 911 and you'd go cart them off to a hospital and get them taken care of. If somebody is walking down the street screaming weird things, you avoid them. You don't make eye contact. Well, mental health is the same sort of, that's your health, because
well, we know that didn't, I mean, that I get that, Howie, and I appreciate that he's an advocate to a certain degree about mental health issues. Like, that's important, but it is such a big assumption. And I think part of it is because of what was being reported at the time. Hell, I even made that assumption. Well, maybe he wanted to end his life because it was being reported, even locally. Se tiró. That's what people were saying, that he had just, decided, I'm done with life. But the more you scale back the information and you realize they're like, this didn't happen the way that they reported it initially. And here's the question. Why? Why did they report it like that initially? Why? Why put that doubt in people's minds? I'm so glad that I don't feel like Liam Payne just ended his life. You know what I mean? Now that I've taken the time to review different videos, what different people here on YouTube have said, even people that I don't agree with on their opinion, I've reviewed their content to get a good understanding of what their opinion is, because it's important, right? We know better now. We know better. But the media try to convince us that this man wasn't doing too well. He wasn't doing too well, y'all. He wasn't. That's what they try to convince us of.
You don't see them bleeding, because you don't see a broken bone. And this is rampant. It's rampant in our society. That's our problem. If we took care of our mental health, we would have world peace. We would be more productive. We would be a better, happier community just on the globe. And I think that show business shines a light on it. And if anything positive could come out of this tragedy, it's the fact that somebody out there who is suffering can realize that they're not alone. And even somebody who has money and fame and opportunity is suffering like that person who has nobody and nothing in their lives. And maybe you won't feel that uncomfortable speaking out to somebody. And whether that somebody is a family member, a coworker, a partner, a caregiver, we just have to continue to talk about it. And even you doing this segment is an incredible service to humanity.
Now, let me stop right here. Please note that Howie Mandel and Piers Morgan, they're very good friends with Simon Cowell. And so Simon Cowell, I believe, Simon Cowell received a lot of like pushback after Liam Payne's death. Okay. So keep that in mind. Now, although I agree with what Howie Mandel is saying here, like, no amount of money, if somebody's suffering with mental health, you could be a gazillionaire and still be the most unhappy person in the world, because money doesn't make people happy. It just doesn't. It doesn't buy you time. There are things that money can't buy. Is it nice to have money? Yeah, it's nice. But does it make you happy? No, it's not going to fulfill everything for you, right? Where the disconnection is for me with Howie Mandel is that the problem here, now that we know what happened, if a person, like Howie's saying, if you're struggling with mental health illness or substance abuse, you have that, co-diagnosis situation going on. Yeah, that could definitely make you a target. But you also have to add in the factor that you're a celebrity, right? Add in the factor that people are looking at you like a walking paycheck or like a walking, dollar bill. That's the problem here. That's what makes somebody even more of a target.
Well, it's interesting, because I've been listening to what you've been saying. You and I have talked about this privately when we worked together, and I know how much you care about this issue. But both of the other guests who were watching you, Katie Waisel and James Barr here, both of them were shaking their heads. So, Katie, let me start with you. Why were you irritated or disagreed with what Harry was saying there?
Here we go.
Well, hi. It's under very tragic circumstances. Thank you for inviting me on here, and Howie, it's nice to see you. It's incredibly frustrating because first and foremost, Piers, much like you said in the very beginning, it's incredibly important to not make any speculations as to what happened and
Exactly.
with Liam and with the utmost respect in that instance. However, with Howie understandably diverting the attention, and I know that the the essence of mental health and so on and so forth is slightly different in LA or America compared to the UK, is that the shows do have a legal and moral duty of care to those that are participating on it. And I agree with Howie in terms of, from a mental health standpoint, you're right, you can't actually see it physically, but and there should be more awareness around mental health, full stop. However, when it comes to participants on those types of shows, myself of which I was in 2010,
Right.
there is a legal and moral duty of care which should be upheld and adhered to.
I mean, there is, but as I'm talking to you, there's a AB News report.
But can I say something? Can I say something?
Oh,
You're focusing, and it's because of.
And this is, I remember reviewing this and feeling just frustrated because they were talking over each other and whatnot. Howie Mandel, like you said, he's judging shows, right? This is his bread and butter. That's what he's doing. In addition to that, he's friends with Simon Cowell. He's not going to speak ill. And Katie has spoken out about Simon Cowell. I believe there was a lawsuit, don't quote me, but she has said, like, Simon Cowell, you're part of the fuck shit sometimes. You're part of this shit. And this is why people are the way that they are as far as artists. Now, hold up. Let me take you guys to an article, okay? This was printed on the 17th, okay? And it's not being given a lot of attention. Part of it, I almost feel like people are trying to silence Katie because they don't like her opinion. And I like her opinion. I think she's very much in the right about this, not just Liam Payne, but other artists, right? So this is what she said. I had a nation hate me on X Factor. Now nothing has been done after Liam Payne's death. So Katie says that nothing has been done to protect artists in the industry, in the entertainment industry, and is calling for more care and support for artists after the passing of Liam Payne. So the former X Factor sensation, Katie, is taking a bold stand to enhance safety in the entertainment sector, lamenting that nothing has been done following Liam Payne's death. And that's the thing, is like, Katie, shout out to Katie, all right? What else is going to get done? What else are people going to do? This entertainment industry has been allowed to run rampant. Do you understand? So much so that you have the likes of Diddy, allegedly, in my opinion, doing the most at the detention centers. Some of these celebrities think that they cannot be touched by the law, right? And they do the most. And I think that that's the part here, that it's like, we haven't slowed down. We haven't done enough to protect individuals in the industry, or children for that matter. Liam Payne, many of those One Direction were kids at some point when they were in that band. Okay. What protections did they receive? What protections do they have now? Yes, they've aged out. I get it. But like, they still have targets on their back to a certain degree. Like Liam Payne or any of the other individuals couldn't just say, all right, I quit. I'm done being a celebrity and I'm going to go work at a Walmart, because they're always going to have a target one way or another. The industry doesn't take care of its own. So again, she's been speaking out. She's been trying to implement change in the industry, which I think is valid and necessary. But let me go back here, because like I said, now that I'm rewatching this, it hits a little bit different in the sense of like, wow, now we know what Liam Payne's death was about. Now we understand there's 3 individuals that have been charged that we know of. And in my opinion, there's probably more, but that's just my opinion. But just listen how they react with one another as it pertains to this situation, and how he's very protective about the industry, because in my opinion, I think he's also part of the problem. But hey, you're not going to bite the hand that feeds you, right? You're not going to speak against the industry. You're not going to say that someone like Simon Cowell or someone or so-and-so is going to do better. I mean, come on now. Pierce Morgan had to be quiet after receiving a letter from Jay-Z, right? Mm-hmm.
Liam, you're focusing on show business. The truth of the matter is, we all have a moral and legal duty to take care of those people that we come across in life. And whether you're working at a bank,
everything you said about mental health is absolutely correct, and I stand by everything you said about mental health. But it's what you didn't say that I think is the issue here. You diverted attention away from the shows that are payrolling. You're on the payroll. Your answer sounded like something Simon Cowell had emailed to you half an hour ago. It's a ridiculous thing to say.
I think you're just trying to make good.
You have to be aware that the showbiz industry, the entertainment industry, and the shows you work for are also responsible. We're all responsible for the mental health of other people.
But hang on. Okay, hang on.
Now, in the circumstance of Liam Payne, of course, he was not He was not in the US. He was not working at a show. He was in Argentina at a, hotel. We know the circumstances, but I agree with this gentleman right here. I don't know who he is, who says, like, listen, you're speaking straight out of a Simon Cowell email. So is Simon Cowell part of the problem too? Yeah, potentially. I would say so. And are these individuals that are protecting Simon Cowell part of the problem? Yeah. I mean, to me, it's like we have to be frank about certain things. Now, what happened to Liam Payne happened to Liam Payne, and I don't know that I know of. Simon Cowell wasn't there. My understanding is that Simon Cowell has been invited to this, to the service, to Liam Payne's service, which is fine. Based on the family and what their wishes are, in respects to that. But the overall message here is this: Liam Payne was targeted, in my opinion. I don't think that there's disputing any of that. At least that's what I've seen based on what I've read and what I've heard. That's what it seems like to me. It seems to me that he had been targeted. He had always been targeted by somebody, whether it was somebody that was in the music industry or somebody who had his best interests and whatnot, right? There's so much more that we could say about this situation. You guys, I mean, my hope is that the family and friends heal. And of course, that the fans heal as well. We don't know anything else other than what's already been put out there. But I've speculated a lot, and I'm going to wait for more information to come out for sure. But you guys let me know your thoughts in the comments. What do you guys think about Howie Mandel after that? And also, like, what about duty of care? Did anybody have any more duty of care for, Liam Payne after, aging out at a certain point? Do any of these people in the industry, when you know that there's a target on their back, what's the duty of care there? And the overall message that it's just mental health. It's not always mental health. The people like to blame that to mental health a lot. But in my opinion, and we know, Liam Payne did not want to off himself. That wasn't the case at all. I'll see you guys on the next one. Rabbits out. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.